Thank you for joining us on Sunday Interview. I am your host, Grevazio Zulu. Today, Zambia celebrates its founding president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, as he turns 95 years. Much has been said about him and his public life, and much is yet to be said. Today on Sunday Interview, we feature Dr. Kenneth Kaunda's fourth-born son, Tilyenji Kaunda, who shares with us the aspect of Dr. Kaunda as a family man. Mr. Kaunda, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Evening, Grevazio, and good evening to the viewers out there.
It's nice to have you on the show. It's been a long time.
It's nice to be back. Nice to see your face.
Except today we're not talking politics. In a way, we're talking family. Now, I want you to. I know there are quite a number of our viewers who may not really understand the Kaunda family, the family tree. I want you to run us through that.
All right. We talk about the children. The firstborn is Panji Kaunda, and he's a trained soldier. He was in the military. And then next to that comes Waza Kaunda. He's a doctor. After that comes late Major Wes Kaunda. He was also trained in the military. And then I'm number 4. And then after me came late Masuzio, who died of AIDS. Related illnesses, and then after him comes Kaweche. After Kaweche comes a girl now, the first girl whom we celebrated when she came. It was Msata. After Msata come the twins, Cheswa and Kambarage, and after them comes Chola.
Very quiet family, prominent at some point, but very quiet now. Where are all your siblings?
They are around. They're around, carrying out their own manners of living and work. So we are all around.
2 military people in the family.
2 military
Was that
people.
inspired by your father?
Not at all. I think that at school they were in the cadets, and I think that. That kind of life captured their imagination, and they entered the military. Their own, I think it was, they did that on their own.
Did you also think about that at some point? No.
No, I was a bookworm. I didn't think about. No, I didn't think about military training, but of course the other kids did their national service. And I think that even the doctor did some cadet training at Canisius. But I didn't get to do national service. I was out at school.
Now, I want to take you back now. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, and I know during the struggle, you were there, not very old then, I guess about 10 years, but
yes,
you can still recall certain things.
I recall the flavor, because there was this aspiration that Africans must rule themselves, that we want what the whites have got, and we want to rule ourselves. So you could feel that from the youth who were working around the old man, working around the political parties. They all had that feeling that we want to be independent. We don't want to be ruled by a white man. So you could feel that. And it was imparted on us, because whenever we'd see white kids riding on their bicycles, we'd be very aggressive. You know, so that desire for freedom was very much that we could feel the wave.
How did this impact on your growing up? I know your family, I'm sure, must have been a very open home. Your father was leading this struggle at some point.
Yes, quite.
You were young and seeing strange faces every day.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that during this period you could see all the famous faces. You could see Nkumbulas. You could see the Samuel Kapwebwes, you could see the Makasas, the Luis Changufus. So all these famous names would come in and out of the home, and you'd see them working together. What they were doing, obviously, I had no idea, but you could see that something was going on, and that they were busy people. And you know, they went on long distances, and that they were doing something very, very important. What was also evident was that there were a lot of doubts whether independence could actually be achieved, whether it could actually take the country out of the hands of the colonialists. That was, you could hear those doubts of being circulating in the communities.
Did you even understand the importance at that time?
I believe so. I believe so, because I spent a lot of time with the youth who would be guarding my father's house. In fact, they taught me how to play drafts, so spend a lot of time with them, and we hear what they did, what they were doing, the meetings they were having. So as I said, you could catch the flavor that something was happening.
So when you say guarding, what do you mean?
They were youths.
He had a
yes.
Security.
Well, those were violent times, some of them, and I think the presence of youth was required.
Did you feel as a family at that point, you, your mother, and probably your brothers, did you feel it was becoming a bit dangerous?
Being a child, you didn't feel the danger, but you heard what was happening. You heard the fights that would go on, especially when UNIP and ANC parted company. And there was also violent activity between the two political parties. Sometimes those would happen because it was a struggle for power. So there were 3 points. There were the white people, there was the ANC, and then there was UNIP. So much like the current violence that is prevailing now amongst political parties. But what you're seeing now is child's play compared to what happened in that time.
Now, I know that your father took very long distances and long trips, and at some point he was detained. Did you feel the absence as a child?
We felt the absence, and this was only realized later, after independence, when you could see him more. Then we knew that we had a father. But at that point, really, his presence as a dad, as a father, was not felt. It was just mom. The old lady was the one who was a parent. Our father was away most of the time. In fact, I think there was a story, I wish Waza was around. He would tell you when he came back on one of his long trips with a big beard, and he would knock at the door. Waza went to open the door, and he saw this guy, and he screamed and shut the door, and went to shout to went to tell my mom that Pali Chimuntu Panse.
I thought that was you.
No, that was the doctor, Dr. Kaunda. So he was not a figure who was there at that time.
So it was basically unknown to you, the children.
Basically an unknown figure. But he would come, and you could feel that he was a strict man. You knew that. Very kind but strict.
So your mother told you stories about
the struggle.
The struggle, where your father had gone.
Yes, we knew there was a
whenever there was an absence.
Yes, we knew there was a struggle.
Yeah.
We knew there was a struggle because of the songs that were being sung, songs of freedom. And so we knew that he was out there fighting for freedom. What it was, we knew it had something to do with taking the country back from the white people. There were songs talking about, look at those planes flying in the air. One day we're flying in them. Our grandfather didn't see them, but one day we'll fly in them. Songs like that. So, there was that thing that take the country back from the whites, bring the black on to rule ourselves. So there were songs like that. So we knew something was going on, that they were involved.
Pre-independence, which areas did you stay in?
We stayed. I was born in Tilyenji, so we stayed in Tilyenji the 10 years when I came into the world. We just changed houses twice, I think, or 3 times. 3 times we changed houses, ending up at the current monument.
Tilyenji, still in Tilyenji.
Yes, still in Tilyenji. Yes. So I'm a Tilyenji boy.
Fast forward, your father is president, and tell us about that experience. You were only 10, and you were getting into State House. There was all this jubilation from a very tiny house, small house, into this big, huge mansion.
Yes, there was, first became Prime Minister, and we moved to that place which is now Airtel. I think it used to be Airtel offices opposite the golf course. So moved there when he was Prime Minister. So we're staying there. And obviously there was the transition could be felt. Okay, for instance, the food became strange. Suddenly, you had this plate of soup. You know, we used to, you know.
Straight into the Ishima.
Yes. Now there's a plate of soup. So there were strange things like that. And of course, it was also a huge house as far as we're concerned, because they were squeezed. We used to share the small rooms we used to share the rooms. So now it was suddenly larger. And of course, the presence of security also was also upped. There was that. And then after that, when Saivdin Hon left, then we moved into the State House. Now that was a huge transition, almost traumatic, because the place was big, and
you could barely find your way there.
We could barely find your way. The first way to the first double-story house we ever saw was that. Oh, and I should also mention, by the way, when you first moved from Tilyenji to the house by the golf course, the toilets were different. We didn't know how they worked, so that was that cause of discomfort. We're not used to sitting down. We're used to squatting, not sitting down. So that was strange. It was worse when you got to State House, because now every room was self-contained those days, and you could disappear. You didn't know where your friends were. So and also the massive gardens. I mean, we just got lost in there, and the wildlife. There were monkeys and other creatures, and their transition also was the number of workers, because now they were waiters, people whom we didn't know what waiters were, what cooks were. They were just there, and the housekeeper, because there was a white lady who was the housekeeper. I forget her name. It might come to me. And of course, then you had to live by rules. And that's when I've been taught how to eat from a plate and with a knife and fork.
Knife and fork.
Yes, and strange foods.
Mandatory, you had to learn that.
You had to learn that, yes, that a fork is, we now have forgotten its knife, but now we got freedom. But then it was a fork this side, a knife this side. Yeah, a fork here. And then you had to be punctual for meals. You had to eat properly, okay, things like that. You had not use a serviette. And the funny thing about State was that each room had a button that could press as a bell, and waiters would come to find out what was happening. But we were banned from using them. Only my mother and my father could. And of course, the good thing then is that now we knew that my father was around, because we were in the room next to their room, so we'd see more of him. So that was one of the great transitions. He stopped being a stranger.
He became closer to you.
He became closer.
I want to talk about the discipline part. You spoke about him being a disciplinarian.
Yes, he was.
Then now you landed into this land of plenty.
Yes.
Where you have everything. You don't have to touch anything. You don't have to do your work. Did that affect how you were brought up?
I think maybe for the ones who were born in State House, because they didn't see how because my mother made all the kids clean the house, wash the plates, because she didn't have any girls beginning. So all the boys, especially the top three, they had good training in terms of home management. And when we came to State House, of course, that ended because the workers were there, properly uniformed there. And the first time we went there, strangely, I tell you, we were surprised that they weren't wearing shoes. That was one of the rules by the colonial masters. The waiters, they were nicely kitted in white, and but they wore no shoes. They weren't allowed to wear shoes when we got there. And so that was the strange thing we found, that there could be such a thing. But we were not allowed to treat them as workers. Because what happened is that 10 years old, and my father, I think, called each one of us. He certainly called me to his office, and he said that there's only one president here, not many presidents running around. I remember this story very well. And he said, I don't want to hear that you are boasting that you're a president's child. If you want to create something, go and do something yourself.
That was within State House. He didn't want
That
you
was
to-
now within State House. Maybe he saw it were misbehaving. I don't know. But he called and said, that is the rule. And
Were you misbehaving? Did you start then?
I don't
I'm
think
sure
so.
you made an attempt.
Well, you know how naughty children are. I'll tell you a secret. I'll tell you why I don't smoke. I'll tell you why I don't smoke. I don't smoke because at the lodger, the receiving room, the State House, they had this system of putting cigarettes and cigarette lighters right there, a whole box of cigarettes. It was a colonial thing. So we as kids came along because we had seen this on people smoking. So we took a whole box of cigarettes, went around the corner of State House, we hid there, and we smoked that whole box. And I got so sick that I never wanted to smell a cigarette again in my whole life.
Were you beaten then? I know.
They didn't find
spanked?
out. They didn't find out. I'm telling you, I'm confessing this to you now. No one knows this. No one knows this
So
story.
maybe Dr. Kaunda has to come back and interrogate you.
He never knew the story. He never knew the story. So he told us, I don't want to hear. If you commit a crime, if you break the law, I won't lift one little finger to save you. You'll go to jail. So I think he told each one of us. We all went there and we had a single one-on-one with him where he laid down the law. And my older brothers told me that they were actually whipped as they were growing up to keep them in line. I never got whipped.
In State House?
So
how was your interaction with the president? And he was president then. I know he was your father, but I'm sure there was this distinction. He was the president.
For us now, he was just a father who was president. What a president did at that time, of course, when we got there, we didn't know. But we just knew he was president. People saluted him. Okay, and he had this command of the place. And our mother was his wife. And that was it. But we didn't have the order that he was commander-in-chief.
How was your interaction on a day-to-day basis?
It
woke
was
up
good.
In the morning, did you have breakfast together? Did you
No.
have lunch together?
No.
Did you have supper together?
He was.
Did you have regular meetings?
Grevazio, he was still busy. The person we knew was my mom. Okay, and so he was still very much a figure in the background. He got very busy, up and down, out of the country, and around within Zambia. He got really busy.
So when you spoke about discipline, how did he ensure that his children were disciplined?
He was the disciplinarian. My mother was the disciplinarian. So both of them were with the same ilk. They were the same.
How often did you meet him in State House?
We saw him when he was coming from work. And we had this fun thing where with the small kids now would emulate the soldiers saluting him. So when we heard that he was coming, we'd run downstairs and stand at the front door, and then we pretend we were soldiers and we salute him as he was coming in. Okay, so there was that a bit of fun like that.
And he made time for you once in a while?
Nope, there was no time. But I'll tell you one thing that we really enjoyed. That but every August, eventually the habit came that every August we would go to, there's a place called Mfue in the Luangwa. There was a special place there where you could lodge, and we'd go there, and every August we'd have fun with him because then he was more available. Then we could have supper and meals together, and go on game tours together. So there was that bit. That was literally every year that happened.
So do you think him being president robbed you of a father that should have been present in your life?
No, because you could still feel his love was there. He still made sure that we went to school. Okay, he still made sure that we had enough food, enough love, and he made sure my mom stayed with us at home. And by then, as we grew older, we knew just how important the work he was doing was. So we understood. And then the good thing also, which was a great privilege, is that whenever we would go out on trips out of the country, a lot of times he would carry us with him. At least he carried me, I don't know about the others. But I went on a lot of trips with him. So
but still never got to interact with him? because his meetings took time away from
No, we got to know him. For instance, whenever we'd be in Luangwa, we used to play draft together. Okay, so we played all that.
And when you were out of the country?
Out of the country, of course, he'd be busy. We'd be with the staff. Okay, now he'd be busy, so the interaction was very rare in terms of actually sitting down and say, okay, hey son, let's talk. So he was more for the country than for
the nation. He sacrificed more for the nation.
Mm.
Now, I want to take you back a bit to the Freedom Days and Liberation Struggle days,
yes.
and he was out most of the time.
Mm.
So what held you together as a family?
I think my mom made sure we did what we were supposed to do. She was, I think she was an extremely good mother. But the problem that there were 7 of us boys. Yes, let me count right here. Yeah, there were 7 of us boys. And no, there were 6 boys. And looking after boys for a mother is a big thing. So she had to be tough on us. That was one thing that I remember. So there was not too many cuddly, like when mothers do these days, you hug your child and things like that. There were 6 boys. She was managing an army, so she had to be strict. Bathing in time.
She had to shout a lot, I guess. Scream
a lot. She had the only good thing is she wouldn't hit us with her hands. She would get a mulberry switch. There were those days in Tilyenji, there were mulberry trees. Those were mulberry bushes. So when you did something wrong and she went to the mulberry bush, you knew what was coming back, that you get whacked. Now, she did not spare the road.
As you were growing older, everything was changing.
Yes.
Your father's career progressed. He started falling out with certain friends who were close. You got used to seeing them.
Yeah, that was the saddest thing, Revasio, because you find that the politics getting in the way of friends. That was the saddest part, because these are people who grew up together, and then the political thought began to go in different ways, and that always caused trauma. Especially for him, because he had something had happened. So I think that hurt him a lot.
Did he get to share with the family, sit down, see people, and maybe state that now this was beyond him? And
No. We just witnessed what was happening, and we'd hear conversations. My mom talking with her friends, things like that. So we'd eavesdrop, and we'd hear this is happening. And of course, when they saw that, we also felt the sadness that was coming out.
And I think the atmosphere or the flavors.
The atmosphere. And I remember seeing that the falling out with Simon Kapwepo was one of the greatest also hits on him.
He was terribly affected.
Yeah, he was terribly affected. That was sad.
And he never shared. You wouldn't have shared with you anyway.
No.
You were young.
No, young. And the good thing about State House, this you should know, is that don't tell anybody this, but there was the whole. There's a whole. I forgot. Wait.
They're watching.
Okay, so let me edit a bit. There was a hall in State House on the ground floor, and then upstairs there was like the alcove you could look down and see with curtains. So if you sat there, you could hear when they're having the Central Committee meetings, the discussions that were going on. So it would be a bit naughty. We'd stand there and we'd listen to the discussions that were going on when things were happening. So there was that bit.
And you were
naughtiness of kids.
You were never discovered.
Up to now, never discovered.
So when it came to school and issues, I want to take you back to issues. When it came to school, was Dr. Kaunda particular about anything? Yes.
As an educator, he was very strict on school. And in fact, this is one thing that we noticed, that we knew that when we became independent, we came from so-called African schools, because at first we weren't allowed to mix. And then we moved we could also now come to white schools, so-called white schools. And I remember I moved from Tilyenji upper primary school and went into Woodlands Woodlands Primary School that time, that was called. And then it was a school for white kids. So we're now black people coming into white schools. And of course there was the problem of language. We used to speak in Nyanja in Tilyenji. We came to this place now where you were now had to speak English, a strange language.
Did Dr. Kaunda have to meet you over school issues once in a while?
That is a thing now which didn't happen because we were so busy. And the good thing that we had good teachers. And that's how come I think, for me particularly, I remember there was a lady called Miss Rabitsky, a white lady, and she took it upon herself to teach me English. And she taught me how to read English and to speak it. And I think that the teachers were more for us than the parents in terms of doing homework. The teachers made sure you coming, go and do your homework. So we do our homework there.
It's usually a matter of guesswork for the externals, for people that are just watching, and all of us that are outside sitting on the fence. But maybe it would be a matter of knowledge for you. Who was Dr. Kaunda's favorite child? I know families don't like to confess that.
That's a hard one. I think that the girls were his favorite.
As a collective?
The two girls, yes, because there was a drought of girls, you know. 6 boys, ruffians, and so it comes this girl, and I think we all loved her. Yeah, we really spoiled her, including the parents, and we didn't mind because it was a girl. So I think it was otherwise, love was pretty much spread out. And I think my mom, who was the favorite for my mom? I think also it had to be the girls as well also. Or maybe the twins.
Or maybe you don't want to open up. You could have been a favorite.
For me?
For one of them.
Myself?
Yes.
No.
Too naughty to be a favorite.
No, actually I was seen as being highly responsible because I looked after the 5 kids, and they would always put them in my care, young as I was.
And you were not the firstborn.
And I wasn't the firstborn. But this sort of, with middle kids have got this thing that the top kids are too old to mingle with the tail end kids, but the middle kids are the ones who mingle with both. Okay, it's like a transit point, and you talk to the big guys and also look after the small guys, the tail enders. So I was in charge of the kids most of the time, in terms of making sure that they're looked after, they've had their food, and they go to bed in time.
When I spoke about Dr. Kaunda's favorite son, I was probably going to think you were going to pick either Masuzi or Wezi, going by how broken Dr. Kaunda was.
He was broken. Right. I tell you, he was broken when Masuzi died, and because I remember I called him. I was with President who came and said, no, I think now the time is short now. Your brother is dying now. That's the end. I was at UTH. And then I called State House. And I said, may I speak to my dad because his son is dying. He needs to come now. But he was in a Central Committee meeting. So they couldn't stop it. So by the time he came, my brother was dead. Okay, and I remember... but there had been a transition of illness, so you could see that he was losing the battle. So even when he died, I didn't cry. But when he came, he broke down and wept
because he missed he
missed
the farewell opportunity. I suppose.
I don't know whether it was that or just that his son had died, so he wept.
Now, therein stands another strong point for Dr. Kaunda.
Yes.
He came out and
yes.
confessed that
yes.
At that point, stigma was very strong.
The stigma was strong.
AIDS was really a strange thing.
It was seen
and he had to come out, was head of state.
And
how did you feel it?
Absolutely. At that time, as you said, it was seen, in fact, they even had a cruel word for it. They said slow puncture. So nobody wanted to be associated with the AIDS. Everybody would hide their illness. But when his son died, he said, no, this thing must be fought. And so he came out and said, no, must not have AIDS, and this thing must be fought. That time, those were dark days. Nobody knew what was killing people. In fact, they would do things like blood transfusion to try and save somebody. We didn't have any knowledge of diet, how it might help. Nothing. So just watch your loved ones just collapse and die. But he said, this thing must be fought.
Did he consult you as a family?
No.
Came out.
No.
What was your reaction as a family?
Well, I think even when we were sick, I think as a family we didn't hide that we were sick, because we'd seek help all over the place. Also medicine, traditional medicines, things like that. So we're desperate to save him.
When the president came out and said it openly?
We supported him 100%. But we of course, by then everybody knew it was related to sexual transmission, right? So everybody knew.
Well, I'm still looking at Dr. Kaunda and you now as a grown-up, Dr. Kaunda as still as president. There were a lot of dark moments, like you may call them. One of them being the death of his son.
Yes.
The other one being his attempted coups, attempted attempts by people to wrestle power from him.
Absolutely.
Illegally. And these were, how did they affect the family?
I think the effect on the family was not that much, but on him, because obviously the attempted coups were done by people whom he trusted, and often whom he loved. So you could feel that really affected him, and people like the Shamwana thing, that hurt him a lot, with the people whom he loved. The one by General Kison Tembo, again, that really hurt him. And also by some names I forget, but there are people who had worked closely with him.
Mambalu Chambe never worked with him, but of course.
Oh no, he was just a young
that
soldier.
Yes, change of power.
He was a young soldier who took advantage of the rising wave that there must be change. So he took advantage of that, and I remember that time he was at the Ndora Trade Fair. I was at State House, because I was staying with him then. And I remember going to the command center at State House, where I was old. By then.
No doubt.
Yes, so we strategized on what to do. We informed him, and I remember after the ministers, late Hazwe Mwale came to see what was happening. But eventually, after liaising with Police HQ and State House and what to do, then that's how the thing was stopped.
How did you feel as a family? And you say he was affected. You as a family?
Well, it was almost like business as usual, because we knew it was a power struggle. We knew it was a sad time for him. We feel quite sad that this is happening. But he also knew that because of the struggle that was going in the surrounding country for freedom, that these things would happen. For instance, the thing in Northwestern, with the game ranger, he knew it was supported by the South African racist regime to cause destabilization here. So he knew that these things would happen, because unfortunately, at that time, the Western powers didn't understand the need for freedom in the surrounding countries. So often they were more aligned to the colonialists than to the black people. So that pressure was always there.
I want to move from the coup into the time when he was losing grip in power. Maybe if I should put it that way, he was becoming unpopular. Did you see that as children and as family, or were you shielded from the reality?
Remember that time when the MMD were coming in, I mean, we were working people, so we could see the wave, especially from middle class, that they wanted change. In the rural areas, the support for him was still strong because of his agricultural policies. But in the urban areas where people were, let's say, more enlightened, they wanted to see change, and we could see it. And it's something that we discussed. For instance, I remember discussing with the last governor of I think Kenomiowa at State House and William Banda, and I was saying, because I was in tracking, so I'd moving up in the country, I could see the hour signs all over, and I was asking, are you sure you can win these elections? Because I was one of the advocates for waiting until the full mandate had run out. I said,
you didn't want him to cut short his
no, it was strategically wrong. Tactically, it was wrong to do that, because we said
tactically,
no.
You said
Yes, it was wrong. It was a mistake. Say not wrong, but it was a mistake, because what they should have done is wait, because the grass was saying that we can manage this, but you must wait. We need to come to grips with it. Then we can absorb the wave and then defeat it.
Wasn't it a good move that he listened to the wishes of the masses? The people wanted change.
There were two
the people
masses.
wanted multi-party democracy,
and
he listened.
I want to say, Gravazi, that for him, when even if it was a small group, he would listen because he knew that it could go into a big wave. But that was about half and half. It was half and half. There were some who wanted change, and there were some who didn't want change. And he said, there are enough people who want change that we need to give them what they want, so that there can be a choice. That's when he agreed that there should be choice. But in fact, one of the biggest things was that remember that time it was a party and its government. So one of the agreements at the cathedral was that the party should disengage from government. And I'm amazed at how he really actually was serious about disengaging the party from government. He actually disengaged it, just like that. For him, it wasn't the point was not a game; it was real. He wanted to give people their thing. And if you remember, that's when he released the coup plotters from jail as one of the things to do. He took them from jail and they were released.
Did you have a one-on-one? Maybe I should ask.
With him?
Family. Yes, a one-on-one. And did you prepare him psychologically that the nation was changing? The wind was not blowing in his favor. He knew it himself.
He's been a political animal. He understood what was, and in his case, he said, "No, fine, let's go to the polls and let people decide whether."
You knew he was going to lose.
No, because okay, there are conspiracy theories. So many.
Well, I mean, yeah,
there are conspiracy theories, and we know that, of course, the American government spent a lot of money in the changing process.
And those are unproved, and the allegations.
Well, in politics,
delve into allegations.
Oh, of course, no. Of course, I forgot where we were.
We can't prove that, and we can't drag another country into
this.
Our discussion.
Fine.
Yes,
but okay, let's say external forces pumped in money, because
isn't that a scapegoat? Earlier you said.
Earlier
you said you saw. Yes. You saw this change.
It doesn't mean that it was not.
You saw the middle class.
It's true.
Who were disenchanted.
It's true. It's true. Absolutely. But what happens there in politics is that everything must be funded.
When people are
nothing
angry, they don't need funding. Do they?
Yes, they do, Gravazi. You must be realistic about this one. Even what's happening elsewhere in other countries, they are always funded. You always need that. There is no army which marches on an empty stomach.
So you don't believe change had to come now?
No.
Let's move fast forward. He's out of office and,
yes.
and he's at home. Are these some of the things you talk about? What do you talk about when you meet him? Do you meet him that often?
The important part that you say about Dr. Kaunda is that when he lost the election, there are those who said no, hang on to power, and he said no. But I said, no, there's some certain anomalies here, and they said, no, here, let's concede defeat, and we go. For me, that was one of the greatest moments for him as a politician, as a statesman. That was something great. And
so two greatest moments, probably. First, yes. He listens to the people.
He did listen.
He listens to them again.
Absolutely.
He listens to them, changes the constitution.
Absolutely.
And listens to them because they've said they don't want him, and he moved on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think I always thought he had the wisdom of King Solomon, that I'd rather have the child in somebody else's arms alive than half of a child dead in my arms. So he was that kind of a person. And don't forget that he's a very religious person.
So when you sit
That's
now,
one thing
when you sit now, what do you talk about?
Right now? We talk about
when
fun
you meet
things.
him?
About the grandkids. We do talk politics. Yes, we do. We do talk politics, and of course, you know, I brief him every now and then. I just brief him, this is what's happening. He's not involved in politics, but he's a political animal. So
he wants to listen to politics.
Before even
does he share some of his experiences?
Yes, we do share. We do share, and for me, we shared most when he was out of power, because then I got close to him. Because one of my jobs, I became a fundraiser for the party, by the way, for his party when he was in politics. After he left power, I would raise funds for him. Then we'd discuss all the things, and I would have the privilege, because I was fundraising, I would have the privilege of sitting in some of the meetings.
So you got closer to him on that point?
After that part, yes.
Maybe I should ask, what lessons do you draw from him, from your father?
From him, I can say that the question of loving your fellow human beings, the question of respecting what belongs to the taxpayer and what you're entitled to, that lesson was very much pumped into us. And also the question that you must live within the law. So those are things that he really passed on, that is passed on to us. But I don't think that the respect for your fellow man, and also the fact that there is no man who is lost. There's nobody who's beyond saving, no matter how bad it may seem. But there's always room for redemption for a person. So that's something that he taught us. Yes. Or at least taught me, I should say.
He loves singing. Has anybody of you in the family inherited that from him?
Yes,
yes, the guitar,
except
singing.
Me. Except me. But all the others, they've got this talent for singing. And late Masuzio was a great musician. He could pick up any instrument, literally any instrument, and play it. He was hugely talented.
Surprisingly, you had no choir at State. It was a family choir.
Surprisingly, but the voices are good. If you take all of them, take Panji, Waza, Late Wezi, Masuzio, Kaweche, Musata Cheswa, superb voices. They could have made a choir, definitely.
With him as a band leader.
With him as band leader, yes, yes, yes.
I was going to say, you're a quiet family. Not too loud. Is it something you got from your father? No, I know he was prominent.
It's something
very much in the limelight.
Yeah, no, it's something that he told us. I said, I'm sure he told everybody else that you are not little presidents running around in the country. There's only one president, me. So that was there. And we found this out. Remember when my brother was caught in that thing where he killed a girl? That's in Kamanga compound. And the story came and said, they came and told us, no, your son has been involved in a shooting. What do we do? And he said, let the law take its course. And ended up in jail. And he only came out during the MMD regime. That's when the Supreme Court found that they were extenuating circumstances, and they freed him. Otherwise, from 1989, he was in jail.
So he was a very strict man.
Hey, don't play. He said, I won't lift a single finger to save you if you commit a crime. And that's what it was.
And he lived up to his word.
He lived up to his word.
Now, I know I've asked you what lessons you learned from him, and what lessons can the nation get from him?
I think the biggest thing, not to talk politics, but the biggest thing is that when Zambians have united, they've done great things. When they've been divided, progress has slowed. So for him, unity is one of the biggest things. Unity and love, which lead to peace and progress. So for him, I think that the nation can learn that, especially at this particular time, not to be political.
What would you say about his love for family and love for his wife.
He loved
for
his
your
wife.
mother.
He loved his wife. Kaunda, his girlfriend, throughout. I remember the 60th celebration. I think it was the 60th year. He sang for her the same that song, Under the Pagan Moon. But he loved his wife and he looked after her. Because remember, she was diabetic. She had that condition, and she was growing weaker and weaker because her heart was weak. But he made sure she was looked after and loved, and made sure that we did the same thing. We helped, especially for me, because I stayed home most of the time.
So you picked up valuable lessons on how to love.
Yes, yes, yes. Through thick and thin.
I've been wondering one issue, maybe as we close. I've been wondering, you've seen Dr. Kaunda's life. Yes. You're seeing it and you've seen it.
Yes.
Up close.
Yes.
None of you is picking up a pen to write anything.
Well, I think that
by design?
No. I think my sister is writing. She's replying. There's a book that she wrote to us and to the nation called "Letter to My Children," and now she's picked up the pen and she's replying to that book. And incidentally, I ran into a group called Soul Train, and they also they are calling upon people to write replies to that book, because everything that we discussed is in there. His approach to life, how spiritual he is, everything is in there. So she's replying to him. And I think I've seen other people replying to him also.
He may be watching TV now. I want you to speak to him.
I like that. Well, I would say that, I would say, Dad, you are the greatest dad a son would ever want. We've learned our lessons from you, and we're teaching them to others as well. And we thank you for pointing us to Jesus Christ. And we lean on him as we have leaned on him. Of course, him is a pastor's kid. His father was a missionary. But we felt that from we never saw our grandfather, but we saw the grandmom. And she was also a disciplinarian, and she believed in God. So I think that is one of the greatest gifts, the blind belief in God.
Mr. Kaunda,
It's
been a pleasure.
Always.
Having you on the program.
Thank you. Thanks.
You've been watching Sunday Interview. Our guest this evening was Tilyenji Kaunda, the fourth born son of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, sharing Kaunda's life as we celebrate his 95th birthday. Till next week, same time. Pleasant viewing.
Thank you.